Step back in time to an era when fortunes were measured in ounces and dreams weighed as heavy as the gold they sought. In this captivating journey, we'll delve deep into the annals of history to uncover the most monumental weigh-ins that defined the legendary gold rush. Welcome to the biggest weigh-ins in gold rush history. Get ready to strike gold with us as we unveil the colossal, the dramatic, and the unforgettable weigh-ins that shaped an era of ambition, hardship, and unbridled determination. This game-changing gold pays for Parker's trip to nugget-rich Smith Creek, ensures a season total of 192 ounces, and propels him to the Klondike, where Parker records the 3 largest weekly gold weighs on Gold Rush. Parker's largest weigh-in to date is 25 ounces, which is worth $88,000. By far the biggest weigh-ins in Gold Rush history. In 2018, 955 ounces was valued more over $1 million. It was a whopping 1,168 ounces in 2021, with a $2 million payday, and an all-time scale-busting gold weigh, 2,294 ounces, worth over $4.4 million in 2020. Tony runs the dredge for 20 hours to see if his $1 million bet on the 75-year-old dredge paid off. Tony's goal is to make a profit. Tony needs the dredge to generate 1 ounce each hour in order to make a profit. Tony's dredge produces record-breaking gold throughout the next 4 seasons of mining, amassing about 6,000 ounces in 2022, worth more than $10 million. Parker, Rick, and Tony work late into the night to realize their gold mining goal. Parker returns to Alaska after 6 months of mining in the Klondike to disclose his final gold total. The operation expands in tandem with the young prodigy's objectives. Big Red and the wash plant from Hell are running 2 wash plants. The plants have engaged in a gold mining fight over the years, with Slucifer bringing in over 21,000 ounces worth over $31 million. However, Old Faithful Big Red takes the top spot. A whopping 26,000 ounces worth nearly $37 million were delivered. 4 days later, the group gathers to determine whether Parker's risk in running bedrock was worthwhile. They weighed in at 484.1 ounces, a whopping $870,000. Mud Mountain breaks record after record in the last weeks of the season. As Tony BEETS' crew runs their equipment for 25 hours straight, they hope to have broken a curse and delivered gold. After counting, they discover that they have 6 ounces of gold valued more than $11,000. This achievement motivates them to keep working hard and looking for more gold as they move further into the ground. Meanwhile, Parker Schnabel departs for Fairbanks, putting supervisor Mitch Blaschke in charge of getting 2 plants operational in 5 days. To optimize their gold extraction process, Mitch intends to drag the Slucifer onto a big area and install the giant stacker. Before Parker returns from Alaska, the crew is scrambling to set up the sluice for running pay dirt. The 120-foot super stacker is connected and successfully reaches the pre-wash. Parker's crew begins running pay soil through the wash plants and is pleased with the results. Parker gives the crew an update on his Alaska venture, where they're ready to strip and build a plant pad. Parker is 1 step closer to mining out the 90-acre airfield, now that both wash units are operational. However, there are certain drawbacks, such as a conveyor problem and a blown-out engine. Despite these difficulties, Parker's other wash plant, Big Red, has been sluicing simple street cut pay all week, yielding a gold haul worth more than $290,000. The team is ecstatic about surpassing the previous year's ounce count and plans to keep pushing forward. Tony BEETS and his squad are under pressure to have a record-breaking season. Their shaker deck, on the other hand, shuts down twice, producing dissatisfaction. They are unable to locate a 2-foot stretch of sea channel that has been broken off the wash plant, making their operation difficult. Despite the setbacks, they improvise by welding the sea channel back in place to keep the material going. Finally, they may begin processing the tailings and hope to see their efforts rewarded by the discovery of more gold. Meanwhile, Parker Schnabel is upbeat about the season's early start and the possibility of covering their expenses with the gold they uncover. As the BEETS family weighs their gold for the week, Monica returns with their granddaughter, bringing some joy amidst the challenges. On Gold Rush, Tony BEETS, Parker Schnabel, and others discuss their best gold finds. Tony says that they made almost $310,000 from the last of the old-timer tailings. Parker also claims that they discovered gold worth more than $145,000 in just a few days. The overall amount of gold mined for the week is nearly $460,000, which is more than double the amount mined at the same time last year. They are overjoyed with the results and anticipate making even more money in gold in the future. In another section, Fred Lewis and Brandon Clayton collaborate to boost their output by pooling their resources and talents. They feel that by working together, they can significantly improve production while also maximizing their earnings. Tony BEETS and his crew are ecstatic about their significant gold discovery, which include Fred's largest gold haul to date and the potential to double their productivity. Tony's efforts, however, are thwarted by frozen ground and a massive chunk of frost obstructing the conveyor belt, resulting in significant delay and gold loss. Despite these setbacks, Tony is determined to get his season back on track with the assistance of the 80 pup and to achieve his gold ambitions. Tony supervises the procedure and urges his team not to step on the mats because any downtime costs money. Despite some lost gold and downtime, the BEETS have discovered over $328,000 in gold, making their season total to nearly $2.3 million. Parker Schnabel, on the other hand, is struggling to meet his goal of 2,000 ounces of gold and is concerned about sending his staff home with insufficient gold. He has to find the high-grade pay layer before the winter, but he is still 800 ounces short. Troy Taylor, the landowner, makes Rick an unexpected offer to sell the property for a down payment of 150 ounces of gold. Rick should consider the offer because he has already spent a lot of money on equipment and is struggling to make a profit. Rick hires Kyle Lawson, a former iron worker, to run both wash facilities by himself in order to enhance output. Despite his nervousness, Kyle accepts the challenge and effectively controls the facility. They eagerly await the discovery of gold in the box, thinking that this inventive approach will assist them in reaching their aim. On Gold Rush, Tony BEETS, Parker Schnabel, and others make some remarkable gold discoveries. Tony BEETS finds 219.8 ounces of gold from Monster Red and 95 ounces from Rocky, totaling almost $500,000 in gold. Parker Schnabel receives his largest gold weigh yet from Raleigh Valley and makes a significant investment in purchasing new acreage. Tony BEETS wants to expand his mining operations in Keno by prospecting fresh terrain. He digs test holes and discovers some potential gold indicators. Overall, these gold miners are pursuing intriguing advancements and lofty aims. Tony BEETS and his crew are establishing a new mining operation that will extract gold from dirt using a ball with a strainer. They employ a lengthy pump to speed up the process and are happy with the results when they discover some gold. Tony is encouraged by this discovery and explores extending the operation with his family. Meanwhile, Parker Schnabel is weighing his gold and is thrilled with the results, which exceed their season's greatest gold weigh. Despite the difficulties they've encountered this season, Parker is determined to keep mining and make the most of the remaining weeks. Subscribe now for more thrilling updates and hit that notification bell to be alerted when there is a next post. Tony BEETS and Parker Schnabel are each determined to reach their gold goals. Parker's team has reached half of their total ounces from last year, with 700 ounces needed to relocate Big Red to Mud Mountain. Meanwhile, Tony is motivated to have his best season yet after investing in new gear. Both, though, confront difficulties along the route, with Tony coping with equipment problems and Parker relying on the success of their road extension. Despite the challenges, they stay driven and enthusiastic about their chances of success and profit. Tony BEETS is determined to make up for his shortfall in gold ounces and cover his off-season investment. He plans to sell his fleet of barges for $1 million, but his buyer drops out, leaving Tony with added pressure to deliver the gold he needs. Despite the setback, the BEETS family has their best ever season in terms of gold production. Tony remains hopeful for the future and aims to reach his original goal of 9,000 ounces next year. Shocking discovery made by researchers. Find out now by clicking on the next video.
Been able to handle it, we would have been a little farther ahead than we are, but in that 10-inch pump, like, that's certainly got the power to do it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that came with a price tag.
Rick has been able to pay off his royalties for the year to Troy and is starting to feel better about this year's haul. Despite beginning his season 2 weeks later than everyone else, he is proud to say that he and his team have been moving along very well and have been working at full capacity. They have their hopper feeder in place and working through their pay dirt steadily. His goal of 1,000 gold ounces for the season is more urgent than ever now that he has a clear path ahead of him with no debts hanging over his head. The failure of last year cannot be repeated, as he failed to meet his goal and barely broke even. Rick plans to put some gold in the safe as the gold prices have shot way up.
This is great. I mean, 206 ounces,
Man,
that's awesome. If we just keep going deeper, and that's just going to get better.
That's the next challenge, right?
Yeah.
He needs to turn things around this year or find a new career after past failures. Rick commiserates with his other crew members, saying that the past year felt like they were moving dirt around for fun rather than mining for gold. The past 4 weeks have been spent making their way through the cheap cut, where the gold is all found on the highest layer of dirt, practically sparkling in the sun. As they reflect on their mistakes and their work this season, they identify their biggest problem for this year. Their newest recruit, Mark, informs them that they are almost out of pay dirt from the cheap cut. This means that they have no pay to feed the wash plant, Rocky, and no gold to collect. Even the new guy knows that with only a day's worth of cheap cut pay left, they are going to have to look for new ground to sluice. An experienced gold miner, Rick knew that this was a problem that would come up sooner rather than later. So, Rick has been looking for a new area to mine. This pressing need for more pay dirt has fed the drive to explore the area and find new ground to mine. This urgency and success in the cheap cut has renewed Rick's passion for gold mining. He believes that his many years of experience have given him an edge and skill for this kind of gold and pay dirt prospecting. As Rick stands surveying the land, he points out piles of dirt that he feels could have the best gold content they've ever encountered. He points out a corner in the area that he has high hopes for, noting how all the dirt is piled up together. But why does he feel that way? Well, 20,000 years ago, on Lower Duncan Creek, a glacier once pushed up a mound of rock and dirt, known as a moraine, to the edge of the cheap cut. Rick believes that this blockage has trapped gold all up against it over the centuries. All gold that has washed down from the mother lode. If his theory is right, he has stumbled across a buildup of gold that has been growing for ages. Rick gathers the dirt and rock from where he believes the glacier created the moraine and puts it in his panning bowl. His belief is that this could be the best gold they found all year, and with the price of gold only increasing, he would make some of the largest profit margins in recent memory. He carefully pans the dirt in the nearby water, and he determines that he needs to see at least 15 to 20 distinct colors in the pan to make the area a viable location. Extending the cut is a decision that could make or break his career at this point.
You pull that big rock out of there?
I did, 2 of them, building Stonehenge here.
Where you start hitting those big boulders like that, like you're in the right spot.
The Nest crew at Duncan Creek is busy extending the cheap cut, trying to determine whether Rick's hunch is correct. Mark keeps adding to a stockpile of pay dirt that is meant to keep the wash plant running. They cannot afford to shut down. However, a problem arises when they lose water pressure over at the wash plant. This is extremely frustrating as it feels as though the team is being delayed and set back every single day, unable to catch up. The leak in the water pump is quickly spotted and tells them they have to shut down operations for the day until it is patched. All of this downtime is a huge red flag, so they decide against fixing the leak and instead replacing the water pump entirely. Carl brings in the backup, and they hurry to install it with the help of a crane. The replacement won't start up, causing their hopes to come crashing down. Rick Ness needs to calculate whether his decision to extend the cheap cut will pay off. Before getting to the numbers, Rick makes small talk and eases the tension in the room. Part of being a leader is tending to one's subordinates, and that's something Rick doesn't forget. Finally, they get down to business, and Rick pulls out the scale. To reach their gold weight, Rick would need an ounce of gold per 100 yards from this extension of the cheap cut. They have run over 7,000 yards, and Rick needs at least 70 ounces from this venture. The gold is carefully poured onto the scale, and it measures well over 70 ounces, reaching 82.37 ounces. This is a fantastic showing, especially because gold prices are up at a massive $1,750 an ounce. This means that Rick has mined $144,000 worth of gold from the cheap cut extension. His hunch, combined with his knowledge of the history and geography of Alaska, has paid off in a big way. This is Rick's biggest haul of the season. Everyone is left amazed, as they have never seen such a good cleanup with their own eyes before. Rick reflects on how they never came anywhere close to this last year. It seems that his theory about the moraine was proven correct, and he found an amazing cache of gold.
At this point, it's only numbers like that we need. They kind of got to keep going up, so.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot more of it out here, right, on this property, so.
A few more hauls like this, and their season will go very smoothly. It also eases concerns that their late start in the season would irrevocably destroy their chances of meeting their gold ounce goal. It's barely September, and the weather has turned colder, covering the land in snow and slowing down operations for the Ness crew. This is a warning that the end of the season is around the corner, despite everyone believing they should still be experiencing autumn weather. Rick is upset, as he believes his wash plant, Rocky, should still be running at this time in the season. However, after helping him bring in his biggest gold ounce haul in the season only a week ago, his wash plant, Rocky, has shut down unexpectedly. The weather will not allow for water to run through the machine without freezing and disrupting the equipment. This didn't stop the team, but the more they tried to push the wash plant, the slower it would go. The longer and longer lengths of time it takes to use the wash plant end up costing them more time and money than just shutting it off. Rick comes to the hard decision that Rocky is done for the year, and now all efforts have to be focused on their second wash plant, Monster Red. While Rick understands that striking out on his own is risky, he thought the rewards would be worth it. A lot of people doubted he would be able to survive on his own like that, but so far, Rick has been able to prove them wrong. However, now with one wash plant down and the weather getting colder by the day, he is starting to have doubts. This is only his third season on his own after leaving the Klondike and finding the big gold in the mountains. Rick has invested a $250,000 deposit to purchase his claims, but the end of the mining season is creeping up, and he still needs 550 ounces to reach his target of 2,000 ounces of gold. Over the walkie-talkies, Rick gets a message asking him to check out a situation the crew is having with water. Rick races down to a massive pond of water where his worker is meant to be smoothing out the area. He tells him that they are going to need to get a pump to remove the water and give them access to the pay dirt below. After digging for over 2 months, the Ness crew are 170 feet down in the Rally Valley.
We finally got our hopper feeder in, and I paid off Troy his royalties for the year, so that feels really good.
This valley is completely filled with water, making it impossible for their equipment to traverse. The high-grade pay in the Rally Valley is something that the entire Ness crew is relying on to save this season and career. The 6 feet of water is a huge obstacle that will take time and money to remove. The pump is working, but the valley has only flooded out again, even with the work put into clearing it, setting them back even further than before. Rick's pump is only 6 inches and is no match against the estimated 6,000 gallons of groundwater currently flooding the valley. The water is leaking into the cut every moment. They realize that their plan is ineffectual and that the water pump doesn't work correctly either. Rick remembers that the Taylors have a 10-inch water pump sitting somewhere in their own equipment stash, and the only issue Rick can recall it having is that it has not been used for a couple of years. Their next step is to plumb up the hoses and place the equipment into position. Rick is worried since he knows they don't have much time left, and they need to get to the pay dirt as quickly as possible. The only thing standing in the way is the aider. Chris, a member of the Ness crew, explains that now that they have the 10-inch water pump, they will hopefully get this water cleared and the land dried out soon. Rick managed to drill the hose into place and tells the crew to fire it up. To everyone's relief, the pump turns on. Powered by a giant 465 horsepower dozer engine, the pump is said to be able to empty an Olympic swimming pool in just 70 minutes. This is around 660,000 gallons of water in over an hour. Rick points out how they can see the water being sucked out from feet away, and the hose spits out gallons of water in moments. This is a huge improvement to the wimpy 6-inch water pump that only made the flooding worse. Rick believes that when they arrive in the morning, the valley will be ready to be sluiced and the dirt relocated. The ability to shift their attention from the water and back to the gold is a good sign that they are making progress with this season's gold ounce goal.
Oh, I don't know why I'm so nervous. It's the first one of the year.
You seem a little giddy.
I am. Well, all right, I can't talk anymore. I gotta go.
Let's make it rain, boys.
Woo!
The next day, Rick greets his crew in the break room, in higher spirits than before. They have lost 2 days fighting the flooding in the Rally Valley, all while trying to avoid letting the recent cold weather from freezing them out of the rest of the season. Shutting down operations would be disastrous at this time. It is crucial that the Rally Valley delivers them the gold they need. Rick is still reflecting on where things went wrong, and he regrets that the first water pump did not work, as it would have saved them a lot of time that was wasted in bringing in the second pump and having to install it. They are grateful to have found the second pump, but now Rick reveals that it came with a price tag. Rick spoke to Troy, and according to him, he did not mind lending the water pump as long as Rick was willing to purchase it outright. With no other choice left to him, Rick had to pay $40,000 for the 10-inch water pump. This sets them back even more, as they now have to calculate the amount of gold they need to pay back the expense of the second water pump. Nobody is too upset about this news, as they needed the pump desperately, and they would not have been able to find another in time to dry out the Rally Valley. Rick pulls out a water bottle filled with gold and says that he believes by the weight of it that they have made quite a bit of money, and that their hard work and purchase of the pump will pay out. Then he takes out another water bottle filled with gold that he says is worth $100,000. The scale is set up and they start pouring in the gold. To hit the 2,000 gold ounce weight goal for this season, they will need to mine a whopping 550 ounces of gold before they pack up for the year. The scale slowly fills up with gold, and the final weight comes out to 106.9 ounces of gold. Rick then adds the 106 plus 100 gold in the other bottle to a total of 206,000 gold ounces mined. When calculated, this would give the gold a total of $370,000 combined. After this count, Rick only needs 300 ounces of gold to reach his ultimate season goal. If the Ness crew is able to protect Monster Red and keep it running even in this foul weather,
No secret, Rick spent a lot of time and money chasing after big nuggets last year on a hunch. I hope this isn't last year all over again. I don't need that.
they may be able to save the season after all. This is a huge accomplishment, given that they were delayed for days. Rick is sure that if they just keep mining deeper into the Rally Valley, they will soon reach their goal with even more gold to spare. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed Rick Ness's biggest gold hauls and his comeback into the gold mining industry. Let us know in the comments what your favorite part was. If you want to keep up to date with the latest Gold Rush content, make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn notifications on so you never miss an update.
The BEETS family faces a race against time as they try to extract dirt from the frozen mining cut. But as the temperature rises, so do their challenges. Would they be able to fix their problems in time for the day's mine, or would they go back home disappointed? Stay tuned to find out. In the heart of the operation, Kevin BEETS finds himself battling a mechanical breakdown in one of the trucks. With the fleet frozen, their efficiency takes a hit, and the pressure is on. He complains sadly about the amount of time they have wasted and how important it is for the continuity of their show that the trucks get back on track. He says that if they don't fix the truck as soon as they can, they will be seriously behind their schedule. Meanwhile, the relentless Ruby Mahoney is digging deep, uncovering signs of gold in the soil. The promise of hitting the fabled white channel page keeps the team motivated, but challenges persist. Back at the truck, Kevin faces another breakdown, putting operations on hold. The radio crackles with urgency as the team scrambles to fix the issues and keep the tight schedule intact. Again, Kevin complains about how hard it is coping with the excesses of the rock, breaking down from time to time without any signs. He emphasizes the need for the trucks to be back in action ASAP. The mining team, despite setbacks, presses on with determination. Tony BC takes charge, strategizing to salvage the situation and keep the mining operation on track. Like Kevin, Tony sees how important it is for them to avoid any more setbacks. Time is of the essence if they want to make the quota for the day. He rallied the team, and soon enough, the machines began to work and they began to set the ball rolling. Over at the wash plant, Fred Lewis seeks guidance from Parker. Equipment issues threaten to compromise Fred's gold production target for the season. Fred and Parker talk about the issues they have with their equipment and the urgent need for a solution. Because if they don't find a remedy to this problem, they may not be able to continue with the series. Fred makes the tough call to shut down the wash plant, creating doubt about the viability of reaching the season's gold target. The team, however, remains determined. At that, just when the morale of the workers seem to have been given a little push, another problem strikes. Dave encounters difficulties with a jammed tail pulley, causing another setback. The team works tirelessly to resolve the issue and resume operations. Amidst the challenges, a potential gold discovery in a broken rock renews hope for Dave's team. Despite setbacks, the miners remain committed to overcoming obstacles for a successful season. Dave's confidence, and that of the other miners, is renewed by the discovery, despite the hiccups they encountered. He is sure that they will strike gold more than they have ever struck before. In a bold move, Fred Lewis decides to tackle the frozen creek obstructing their mining claim. Facing an icy barrier, the team orchestrates a plan involving a massive pump to melt the ice. The risky operation requires careful navigation, and Fred, tethered to a safety rope, takes the plunge into the unknown. The team successfully activates the pump, spraying a powerful stream of water onto the frozen creek. As the water penetrates the ice, Fred cautiously makes his way across, ensuring the safety of the crew. While the ice slowly yields to the relentless force of the water, concerns arise among the crew. The unpredictability of the situation and the potential risks weigh heavily on their minds. Instead of getting worried and worked up, the crew members enjoy the rush, excitement, and anxiety of the whole season. Their utmost hope, however, is that everything goes according to plan. After hours of vigorously battling the frozen barrier, the team's perseverance pays off. The pump successfully carves a path through the ice, allowing them access to the vital equipment on the other side. With the creek conquered, Fred's team regains access to crucial equipment, and mining operations resume. The victory over the icy challenge injects a renewed sense of determination into the crew as they push forward, undeterred by the harsh Alaskan conditions. As the crew returns to mining operations, they encounter a series of challenges that put their skills and machinery to the test. Faulty equipment and unexpected shutdowns become a recurring theme, threatening the efficiency of the entire operation. The pressure is on as they strive to extract as much gold as possible within a limited time frame. Amidst the chaos, expert operator Ruby Mahoney emerges as a key player. With tenacity and determination, she tirelessly operates the machinery, digging deeper into the cold soil in pursuit of the elusive gold. Ruby's expertise becomes a beacon of hope, providing the team with a glimmer of success in the challenging conditions. Meanwhile, Tony's son Mike leads the charge in a massive effort to strip 700,000 tons of dirt from the cold coat. The goal is to hit Paradise Hill's fabled White Channel Pay within a week. A breakthrough moment occurs as they discover what appears to be the distinctive iron-stained yellow soil, a potential indicator of gold-rich ground. The urgency escalates as unexpected setbacks plague the operation. Kevin, Tony's chief mechanic, faces the challenge of keeping the fleet of rock trucks in working order. With multiple breakdowns and a critical shortage of essential parts, the team is forced to make crucial decisions on the fly, further intensifying the race against time. With the clock ticking, Mike beats strategies to maximize the extraction of dirt from the cold coat. The ambitious goal of hitting Paradise Hill's White Channel Pay within a week requires a relentless pursuit of efficiency. The BEETS family invests everything they have, mobilizing their resources to ensure the success of this high-stakes endeavor. The pressure intensifies as Tony's chief mechanic, Kevin Beets, faces a mechanical nightmare. The rock trucks, essential for hauling dirt, face constant breakdowns, each one threatening to derail the entire operation. Kevin's mechanical prowess is put to the ultimate test as he battles missing bolts, broken parts, and a relentless race against time. The turning point arrives as expert operator Ruby Mahoney uncovers signs of gold in the cold coat. The distinctive yellow soil, coupled with rounded riverbed rocks, suggests the presence of gold-rich ground. The discovery ignites a spark of hope, fueling the team's determination to persist in their quest for the legendary White Channel Pay. Meanwhile, mine boss Fred Lewis faces a critical decision. Despite dealing with faulty equipment, Fred remains committed to mining the challenging terrain. However, the gold yields fall significantly short of the targeted 60 ounces per week. Faced with financial challenges and an uncertain future, Fred contemplates the viability of continuing the operation. In a surprising turn of events, Parker Schnabel, a seasoned gold miner, offers his insights to Fred Lewis. Parker, passing by the Lewis mining site on his way to his Alaskan claims, provides valuable advice on the challenges Fred's operation is facing. The encounter sparks a moment of reflection for Fred as he grapples with the complexities of the Alaskan gold mining season. As Kevin Beets battles the mechanical challenges, the urgency to overhaul the rock trucks intensifies. With several bolts missing and crucial components breaking down, the fleet faces a major setback. Kevin, along with the team, engages in a marathon of repairs, welding, and replacements, determined to bring the trucks back into operational condition. Mike Beets takes a calculated risk by leaving the critical mining site to fetch additional trucks from the Indian. Betting on a swift return, Mike leaves the operation in the hands of the remaining crew members. The decision is a high-stakes gamble, hoping that the gain in truck numbers will outweigh the potential loss in operational momentum during his absence. Tony Beets faces a managerial dilemma as the mining operation grapples with unexpected breakdowns and delays. With a third of the rock trucks out of action due to mechanical issues, Tony contemplates alternative plans. The need to balance immediate solutions with long-term strategies puts Tony in a tight spot, testing his leadership in the face of adversity. Expert operator Ruby Mahoney becomes the unsung hero as she embarks on a relentless digging marathon. Working day and night, Ruby pushes the machinery to its limits, determined to reach the fabled White Channel pay. Her unwavering commitment sets the tone for the entire team, instilling a sense of hope and determination amidst the challenging conditions. Fred Lewis finds himself at a crossroads as the challenges mount. With only 118 ounces of gold, well short of the targeted 500 ounces for the season, Fred contemplates the harsh reality. The race against time becomes more pressing as winter looms, adding a layer of complexity to the already challenging decision-making process. The unforgiving Alaskan wilderness continues to throw curveballs at the miners, from mechanical breakdowns to managerial dilemmas and the relentless pursuit of gold. The unpredictable nature of the terrain tests the resilience, adaptability, and sheer determination of each team member. As they navigate through the twists and turns, the outcome remains uncertain, making every decision a critical turning point in the quest for Alaskan gold. The mining drama continues, with each twist and turn testing the miners' resilience and determination. Will their collective efforts lead them to the golden bounty they seek, or will the challenges prove insurmountable? Stay tuned for the next thrilling chapter of Gold Rush Trials of the Thaw. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this roller coaster journey through the Alaskan wilderness. In the middle of September, clouds were thick over the Klondike, and Tony BEETS, who was king of the Klondike, was in a hurry to reach his 5,000-ounce goal. His trial didn't lead to anything, though. After finding this scary thing during the gold rush, is Tony BEETS' life over? Let us find out. It looked like a big problem as soon as they started digging, but Tony was still hopeful. His main goal was the 80 pup cut, where more than 500 oz of channel gold had just been found. As long as Tony could keep the gold coming in, the veins looked good and paid well. Tony only had 900 ounces though, and the weather was making his plans fail. As it rained, the field turned into a messy mess. No matter what, Tony, who was used to being in charge, couldn't help but think about how it would affect their work. He knew just how dangerous it was, and now he had to face a new truth. This man's drive really moves me, but this task was a lot bigger than his. Tony had already planned to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 weeks ago. This showed how determined he was to get through anything that stood in his way. He did things like double the flow of water from the trommel to fit in with the area. It was definitely an even bigger risk. It was a simple goal: get more gold. Tony was responsible for things that happened earlier in the year because he was always eager. Still, the settling ponds weren't strong enough, and there were already signs of trouble there. Over the radio, the team said that several dikes had been broken. Tony had to make a tough choice. He had to shut down the business so he could raise and secure the dikes. In the gold rush, it took a lot of time to make the move that had to be made. They worked hard and sweated to keep water from getting where it shouldn't, because the 80 pup cut had to happen right away. Once more, the water levels were going up and Tony was against them. He couldn't let the weather decide how much money he made in mines. He told you very clearly that you shouldn't mess with your ponds. Tony told his team that they needed to start working on the project right away. Nick, a trustworthy member of Tony's team, was told to keep a close eye on this needless piece next to the pump. It never stopped raining, and the water kept coming. Tony clearly cared a lot about the dikes, and everyone needed to move quickly. He thought about how hard things were for them, and was afraid that he would sink. I believe that being patient and alert are the best things to do in this case. Nature was fighting back, and Tony was in the middle of it all. It became clear that looking for gold wasn't a fun game of cleaning bright little chunks on the patio. It was a battle with time, the weather, and AM's moods that were always changing. When I think about these problems, I can't help but wonder, will Tony BEETS be able to get to his 5,000-ounce gold goal? Of course, the 80 pup had its own sparkle, but rain and rising water were against him, so his chances were not good. He was fighting to stay alive while the sound of machines could still be heard all over the area. Their digger got stuck in a settling pond. Tony knew that they would lose a lot of money every day if this big machine couldn't do its job. They had no choice but to stop. Sure, it was a bother, a huge trouble. There was no doubt that the digging would have to stop until the problem was fixed. But Cousin Mike found a way to make things better. He tried his best when he got there in the morning, but his digger ended up going straight into the water. This caused more trouble. Tony and 2 other excavators went on an emergency rescue because they needed to find a way to help. They worked very hard, but it didn't help. It was time for troops, and Tony didn't think twice about sending in the 18T D6 dozer and the huge 115T D1. The question then was how to get that refuse-to-move backhoe out of the bog. Tony made a plan that worked perfectly because he had been digging for a long time. The first thing that had to be done was to pump out the water. To do this, the D6 dozer, a big piece of machinery, was used to push fine tailings into the pit and make a ramp. The plan was to level the ground under the stuck digger so that the big wrestler could pull it out. The colossal 115T D1 850 horsepower rescue mission star was then sent out on patrol to see if it could help. Tony came up with a way for the D11 to drive up onto the strengthened ramp, making a base for this big machine to stand on. The goal was clear: get the 220 loaders out of the mud. It was clear that things were very bad and that time was running out. But each choice came with a price. Tony BEETS knew what the risks were and thought about how to fix the problem. I couldn't help but wonder if Tony's plan would work. When the engine started to roar and the machine started to turn, everyone had to help out. This was a battleground between people and nature. It was not easy to get a digger out of the ground. It was also hard to deal with things that didn't go as planned and gain skills and experience in the tough world of gold mine. The loss that Tony BEETS was going through could be heard throughout the mines. The water had to be pumped out so that the digger could be taken out. It surely acted as a challenge to the muddy swamp of crisis that had caught Tony's mining business. Tony BEETS, on the other hand, was not the type of person to give up. He thought they were going to get a little further along. I think things were starting to get better. The screen showed scenes of relief workers getting the stuck digger out of the way. The D6 dozer was hired to move the tailings, and a simple ramp was built to help with the rescue. They had to walk a fine line between machines and nature, and Tony BEETS was determined to be in charge of it. The setting pond became less like a bog as the plan moved forward. He noticed that things were going in the right way. Exploring this swampy area visually also showed how hard things were for the workers on Paradise Hill. As the work with the backhoe went on, I couldn't help but wonder if this was another waste of Tony BEETS' time. On top of that, the constant enemy Klondike weather has already slowed down work on Paradise Hill for a whole week. Even though things were getting tougher, Tony was still focused on his 500-ounce goal and stayed positive. Earlier, the backhoe problem caused them to lose about 2 hours of work. It looked like Mike's cousin was to blame because he drove the digger into the mud by accident. When Tony replied, he didn't mince words and said that Mike was stuck because the other person wasn't paying attention. With an operation being held up and a digger getting lost, will Tony BEETS and his crew be able to bounce back? It was clear to him that some of his problems were caused by not paying attention to certain things. Some people made the situation funny by telling him he had to describe everything in English, Dutch, or Finnish. The task of rescuing Tony from tough situations naturally improved Tony's engineering skills. As the show goes on, all we can do is admire how strong Tony BEETS and his team are. Tony BEETS had to deal with this horrifying discovery. Could he get past it, or was it really the end for him? They were going to weigh the gold to see if they had reached their goal. Tony BEETS was kind of riding a number-based roller coaster. It meant a huge amount, and the number of ounces meant even more. As they moved through the mine area, 9 diggers called out the count, 10, 30, and so on to keep the family on track. Some buyers saw that number as a sign of hope, but Tony would need more than 300 ounces to reach his goal. The count then got tense, 240, 250, 260. As he and the others went through rock after rock, the numbers kept going up, from highs to ever higher peaks. In their whole mining project, they were either right or wrong. The ounces kept coming, 350, 360, and more. In 1987, more than $500,000 was made. It was worth $850,000, taking their total to 4,601 ounces. They worked very hard for 6 days and got a great result. The 80 pups crops helped with the success in some ways. Even though Tony knew that, at least they knew what 80 pup could do. Things have been going well with that for a while now. Tony looked into the future to see if he could get an even better number. That's why it didn't matter if they had to sling for a day. As long as gold was flowing, that was what mattered. The gunslingers didn't have any trouble with it. It was clear that they were successful, and Tony could only say that if it paid well, then it was fine. It was very hard to understand, and I was afraid that the weather would get in the way of Tony's plans. Tony was pretty happy with the outcome. It was so clear that the characters were friends and had achieved success together that it made me feel like I could relate to the miners who were fighting nature to get gold. At least for now, The never-ending search for gold has paid off. Watch my older movies if you want to learn more about how the world is changing all the time.